We have the tech to get food delivered in 15 minutes, but we all have horror stories about buying tickets. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage. Get amazing tickets in just a few taps. Fees are included, so what you see is what you pay. And the Game Time guarantee means authentic tickets at the best price every time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets to concerts, sports, comedy, and more with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. It is an open line Friday today, 877-973-7425. Delighted to have you. Thanks to the Men of Heritage in Atlanta last night. I did a fundraiser for them. Hung out with a group of guys. The event was supposed to last from 6 to 9, and about 11 o'clock, we all looked at our watches and said, oh, we've been here quite a while. I didn't get home until almost 1 o'clock this morning, and I had a ton of fun. Great school. If you were looking for a small classical Christian school in the Atlanta area, Heritage Prep is a fantastic place. Happy to help that school. Great people there last night. Fun time. Now, we got to begin with TSA because there is news. There actually is breaking news happening right now as we start the show today. The United States Senate has agreed to a plan where the Democrats will give up their reform for ICE funding or ICE reform. The Republicans will not make them fund ICE and will instead redirect the hundreds of billions of dollars already given to ICE for all of ICE's purposes. So remember, in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, ICE was funded, that they would normally have a $20 billion budget. They were given $140 billion. That $140 billion was for deportations and immigration enforcement, not for other purposes. So the Republicans will allow the president to readjust the funding so that ICE can be funded as needed. The Democrats won't have to fund ICE or Border Patrol. But the Democrats will get no reforms. They will get no reforms on masks. They will get no reforms on judicial warrants. They'll get nothing the Democrats wanted, and reform will happen. In exchange, the Democrats don't have to vote for ICE funding. The Republicans can just reassign it. It's not a win for the Democrats here. The Democrats are crowing that they have been able to not fund ICE, except ICE already has $140 billion. They would have only gotten, for perspective, $20 billion more. Now, the real breaking news is that the House of Representatives, Republicans are announcing it is dead on arrival. The Republicans, Mark Meadows, in fact, who used to be the President's Chief of Staff, was a member of Congress and is now works for the Conservative Partnership Institute, has just tweeted out, breaking Senate bill is dead in the House. So there you go. We're not going to get anything. Republicans and Democrats in Washington have a growing fear there's going to be a total TSA walkout by this weekend. There are rumblings among union representatives and others that every ICE agent in the United States is going to, or every TSA agent rather in the United States is going to be encouraged to not go to work. That will shut down airports across the United States. And frankly, that may be what needs to happen to get a plan through Congress. It is ridiculous that the Democrats have decided to punish travelers and TSA agents because they can't punish ICE. ICE agents are now working. Now, you should know, behind all of this, the president has decided to declare an emergency and fund TSA agents. They're going to watch and see if Democrats run to court and attempt to stop the president's funding of TSA. That will put the Democrats in a very tricky position if Democrats and their allies run to court and try to get a court to say there is no travel emergency and that TSA agents should not be paid. Democrats, of course, are protected by the media. The media is not going to put cameras in their faces and demand that they denounce the litigation. The media will largely be silent if they do it, but it still puts them in a very awkward position, in large part because it's going to be a clearly progressive group that goes out to sue the president to stop the funding of TSA agents. But the president has come up with a plan to pay TSA agents. He intends to get back pay to the TSA agents by the declaration of an emergency. The House of Representatives, the Republicans there, say there are not enough votes to do the Senate plan. Republicans in the House want ICE funding restored, the extra $20 billion they should get, without doing a reconciliation plan. They likewise want to do voter ID. They want to stick voter ID, and voter ID is probably dead, although it shouldn't be. A very clean voter ID plan that you got to show up and you got to have a photo ID issued by the state or federal government, passport or state ID or driver's license. 80% of Americans support it. The Republicans in the House want to tie that to this bill. Now, what will actually happen is they may get something passed on a party line vote in the House, although it'll be hard because given the numbers. Go back to the Senate. The Senate might strip out voter ID, might strip out even ICE funding. I don't know. But at this point, it's probably going to take the Transportation Security Administration Union to say, you know what, nobody go to work. We're all tired of this nonsense. The Democrats and the media, of course, are going to blame the Republicans. The Republicans are always blamed for this, but the reality is that the Democrats have put us in the situation because they do not want ICE funded. In fact, I mean, they're being more and more open about this. This is Mayor Mamdani of New York.
I think first and foremost, we're making clear that no one is above the law in this city, that everyone has to follow the rule of law. And I have made clear to the president, both in our private conversations and our public conversations, about the fact that I believe that ICE is a rogue agency. It's a reckless one. It's one that delivers nothing towards the furthering of the cause of public safety. And I've also been public about my belief that ICE is an entity that should be abolished.
ICE is an entity that should be abolished. This is Eric Swalwell, the Democrat from California, who's apparently missed almost every vote in the House of Representatives now, running for governor of California.
Said that I will support TSA, every other part of DHS. I'm not giving a penny to ICE or Border Patrol. And the reason why, Erica, is that Americans have seen what ICE has done to our community. And this White House thinks that they can execute Americans in the streets and then have Americans wait millions of hours in lines at the airports, and that we won't forget the chaos. And I can't speak for the rest of the country. I can speak for Californians. And from Modesto to Monterey, from Folsom to Fresno, they are saying hell no to the way that this White House is running the Department of Homeland Security. They don't want another penny for ICE or Border Patrol. They want TSA to be paid immediately. That's what we have the opportunity to do now.
They don't want another penny. They want to pay TSA, but nothing else for ICE. Jim McGovern, another Democratic congressman.
Well, I want to be trusting, but even from my perspective, look, I believe that we should abolish ICE. I think it's
well, that's not going to happen.
I know, but that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
And
I want to abolish ICE, he says. Eric Swalwell wants to get rid of ICE. Mamdani wants to get rid of ICE. They don't want to do any deportations. That's essentially where we are at this time. I don't know why the Republicans are not making a big deal about this. This is the Speaker of the House last night on Fox News.
They've tried to do it in the Senate, but Chuck Schumer is holding that up.
The frustration's real. I know you hear it from constituents. I know you hear it from other lawmakers. We asked people to weigh in on X. Stephen Klum typed up, will Speaker Johnson make a motion to suspend privileges for House and Senate members to get in front of the line when they go through TSA checkpoints when flying?
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody be crazy to do that right now. Sometimes they do that for security purposes for members, but I don't think anybody's engaging in that practice right now. Sure, we should ban.
Cornyn had a bill, and there might be a bill over here.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Let's see, bars too low. Why do politicians continue to collect salaries, though not doing their jobs, as other federal workers have been going for weeks with no pay while working
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, during the shutdowns, we typically suspend our pay. We did that in the fall when the Democrats had the longest shutdown in U.S. history. This is now the second longest. It's a partial shutdown, but it's one that really hurts people, and I think members of Congress need to do their job. I'll say in the House, we've done this 3 times. Homeland Security, again, has been funded 3 times, and it's the Senate Democrats who are holding it up.
And the Democrats are going to get nothing from this. This is the wildest part of this. This blows my mind. We have the second longest shutdown in American history because the Democrats demanded reform to ICE, and they are not going to get any reform to ICE. They're not going to get any reforms to ICE. Think about that. They've denied people pay for weeks on end. In the middle of a war, they have degraded security at airports. They have inconvenienced Americans who are traveling because they demanded reform to ICE, and they're not going to get any of those reforms. They're going to get nothing from what they've done. And they think it's a win. They think by not giving an additional $20 billion to ICE, which has already gotten $140 billion, they're going to claim some sort of victory. For what? The president's now going to reassign the funding in ICE so that ICE can use it for more expansive purposes. The Republicans in Congress are going to allow the president to get away with doing that. The Democrats have got nothing. And by the way, the compromise plan to just go on and fund TSA is dead in the House because the House Republicans are like, no, we're not letting the Democrats get away with this. So we still want ICE to be funded without the reforms. So we're still going to have this shutdown that extends for some time. House Republicans aren't letting Democrats off the hook on this. The Senate Republicans were willing to let them off the hook and just say, you know what, we'll fund them separately through reconciliation, but no reform. And House Republicans are like, no, they do not get to shut down the government, and we do not negotiate with the hostage takers. We're not going to do this. The media will give Democrats a pass. We're already seeing the Democrats give the Democrats a pass. Oh, they're not going to fund TSA. That's a win. They shut down the government because they wanted ICE agents unmasked and they wanted judicial warrants for deportations. And the Democrats get none of that. The problem here, of course, is Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer is scared of getting primaried in New York. He's scared of losing his leadership of the Senate Democrats. And so Chuck Schumer is bending over backwards to placate progressive activists. That's what's happening here. Chuck Schumer is trying to avoid the end of his political career. In the Senate, there are rumblings among the Democrats that they are getting tired of Chuck Schumer's management. It started with the progressives in the Senate. Progressives in the Senate do not like Chuck Schumer any more than the conservatives liked Mitch McConnell because he understood that there were moderates who needed to get elected. Chuck Schumer, like Mitch McConnell, tried to make sure that the moderates who they needed for the majority were protected. Conservatives have always hated Mitch McConnell for that. The progressives have hated Chuck Schumer for that. But now Chuck Schumer has decided to throw in the towel on protecting the moderates to shore up his left flank. And so now the progressives who are unforgiving of Chuck Schumer are being joined by the moderate Senate Democrats, all of whom are upset with Chuck Schumer's leadership. He has been unable to negotiate a reform package for ICE by keeping the government shut down. Americans, TSA agents, and others have suffered, and now the Democrats get nothing for it. We'll see what actually happens in the negotiations because the House Republicans say it's dead on arrival in the House, that what the Senate did. Some reform is going to come, and that reform is not going to be towards ICE. It's going to be towards a system that allows the Democrats to shut this down. In the meantime, it is now widely acknowledged that the world's busiest airport, Atlanta, Georgia, near me, is now having the worst problems with TSA. They are being acknowledged to have the worst problems. The lines are out of control there. Harris Faulkner on Fox News pointed it out yesterday. They've tried to make improvements with ICE agents. The lines were reduced and then they got big again. It depends very much on the time of day when you go. Why don't these airports embrace the privatization program that the government allows them to enter? It's time for the airports to contract out TSA. It's time to make it happen. In the meantime, the President of the United States is going to find the money to pay the TSA agents and attempt to get them back to work and dare the Democrats to sue him. And you and I both know the Democrats are absolutely going to sue the president to starve him of money to pay TSA agents. The president is going to try to do the right thing by reshuffling administrative money, and the Democrats are going to try to block him because this all comes down to the Democratic position. They either want you and TSA agents to suffer so that illegal aliens don't have to. They want illegal aliens protected, and unless they can get that, you must be unprotected. That is the Democratic plan. They wish to get rid of ICE and get rid of deportations and protect illegal aliens, and if they can't do that, you must suffer in the line at the TSA, and the TSA must not get paid. I want you TSA agents listening right now, and I know I got some of you who are listening. You're not getting paid because the Democrats want to protect illegal aliens. A Secret Service protection officer for Jill Biden at the Jill, not Joe. Secret Service protection officer for Jill Biden at the Philadelphia airport had an accidental discharge of his firearm this morning, shooting himself in the leg. He is going to be fined. Can you imagine? Secret Service agent shoots himself in the leg at the airport. Someone says, get a doctor. And Jill Biden's like, I'm a doctor. I'm a doctor. You should be calling me Dr. Jill. Well, doctor, we got a guy. I'm not that kind of doctor. Not that kind of doctor. You need another doctor. What kind of doctor? Well, I don't. Someone who didn't go to school like me. Prayers for the Secret Service. He's going to be fine, apparently. Just a flesh wound. Just a flesh wound. He'll be fine. The Secret Service says it was a negligent discharge, and everyone is fine. And the person they were protecting, which was Dr. Jill Biden, was in no danger. Oh boy. You know, one of the Secret Service agents involved with the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt on Donald Trump has been resuspended for problems. The Secret Service clearly needs some reform. Our governmental agencies are all collapsing. It's like we are so far removed from the generations after World War II in the people who got into government, like they see the United States as a force for good and must make the government good. The bureaucracy is starting to collapse in large part because of that. It's just kind of wild to see that we are being failed by the bureaucrats who used to keep the country together in terms of in times of crisis. Now, let me tell you about my friends at Incogni, please. Incogni is the way you spell it. Incogni. Incogni wants you to be protected online. Incogni would love to have your support. I use Incogni to protect me online. Now, why would I use something like that to protect me online? Well, you get the text message scams flooding your phone. They're not random. The scammers buy your personal information online. Data brokers collect your name, address, phone number, even the medicines you take and your income, and they package it and they sell it to anyone, including criminals. Incogni, I use it to protect my privacy and safety. They contact hundreds and hundreds of data brokers on your behalf. They demand they delete your personal data. I've had my information scrubbed from 324 brokers. 324 have had takedown notices, and they've all taken it down. Less spam, fewer scam calls, a lot less of your personal information floating around. Go to Incogni, 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 Incogni.com/Eric. Incogni.com/Eric. You're going to save 60% when you sign up. Do it now, y'all. They've taken my information off over 324 websites. They can do it for you as well. Incogni.com/Eric. Incogni.com/Eric. Hello there, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very, very happy to have you. Let me jump to the phones here and get to Stacy's call. Welcome, Stacy. How are you? Stacy? I can hear, well, I don't know. Okay, never mind. Try back, Stacy. I promise. We could hear background noise. I don't know why you couldn't hear me. That's okay. We got to talk about this story in the Washington Post. Because I am very, very interested to realize that people are starting to pay attention to what's happening online. If you go on social media, there is an organized campaign to convince you the United States is losing the war with Iran. The Economist has a cover story claiming that. In Europe, the European news outlets are relentlessly hostile towards the United States, claiming the United States is losing. This is from Jennifer Murtazashvili. She is a professor at the School of Public and International Affairs at the University of Pittsburgh, writing to the Washington Post. Something strange is in the air. I wake up every morning in Tel Aviv having survived another night. Sirens go off in the middle of the night. We go back to bed countless times. We wake up to the news that the Iron Dome intercepted the vast majority, 92% by official counts, of incoming rockets. I step onto my balcony and hear the never-ending construction. An Israeli economist I know says we are always building and rebuilding the Jewish state. I sip my coffee, get my kids into their remote school lessons, and open my email and direct messages to see what happened in the imagination of the United States the day before. I moved my husband and 4 kids to Israel in late January for a Fulbright fellowship, arriving weeks before the war began. Since then, I have become a most accidental correspondent, the person everyone back home texts when they cannot tell the difference between what is on their feed and reality on the ground. We are living through the first alt war, a conflict in which the war fought online and the war fought in reality have diverged so completely that they might as well be happening on different planets. It's not that people lack information, it's more that they are constructing an entirely different alternate reality, one that confirms what they already believe. Most mornings, my phone is full of panicked messages. A friend in Pittsburgh, a colleague in Central Asia, a relative in New York. They've all seen the videos of intense missile barrages ravaging Tel Aviv. One video sent to me featured what were ostensibly Israelis marching in droves on foot across what appeared to be Judean mountains, escaping the country as it collapsed behind them. The videos I've been sent are all fake. They're either generated by artificial intelligence or simply old footage from somewhere else. I know because I'm here. The first night of the war was the most frightening. A missile struck a quarter mile from our apartment. The noise shook our building. One person was killed, a woman who did not reach a shelter in time. The tragic event lodged the importance of the shelters in the minds of my children like no lecture of mine could. But after that first night, my kids saw that life continued. In shelters across Tel Aviv, I found myself alongside Muslim, Jews, and Christians. The furious debate consuming the American internet feels distant in these spaces. What worries me more than the fake videos are the people who cannot fathom that this war is going well for the United States, for Israel, and maybe even for the long-suffering people of Iran. The strategic picture is more favorable than the online narrative suggests. Iranian options are narrowing to outcomes that all leave Israel better positioned than before, whether there's regime change in Tehran, a negotiated arrangement under American pressure, or a ceasefire. Markets know this even when pundits refuse to acknowledge it. Kobe Barda, a political analyst at Holland Institute of Technology, pointed me to what he considered the most telling indicator. Israel's stock market surged when the fighting began and has remained near all-time highs. Markets don't lie, he told me. They price in everything, and right now they're telling you Israel comes out of this stronger. You would not know any of this from Washington. 2 weeks into the war, I watch otherwise reasonable analysts sprint to catastrophe. Former officials, think tank scholars, credentialed professionals who are supposed to know how to read a conflict. Within days, they had written the obituary. Quagmire, overreach, disaster. That narrative has continued unabated. The liberal internationalist left and the isolationist right, 2 camps that have agreed on almost nothing for decades, have suddenly found themselves in lockstep, racing to declare the war a failure before it had barely begun. This is the new blob, not the old foreign policy establishment that the term originally described, but a new amalgamation that has arrived at the same conclusion from opposite directions. Together, they are the most powerful engine of the alt war. I asked Golan Shahar, a prominent clinical psychologist at Ben Gurion University and self-described liberal-turned-centrist, to help me understand. Why do otherwise intelligent people send me AI-generated videos and refuse to believe my first-hand account? They don't want this to work, he said. They want it to fail. Analysts in the United States, he explained, cannot have it that Trump and Bibi Netanyahu are the ones defending the West. Now, this goes on from there. And I have to tell you, I think that the analysis of that clinical psychiatrist or psychologist is right. People on the far left and far right want this to fail. The international left hate Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, and they do not want them to succeed. The isolationist right wants Americans to never fight a war again, to come home, build a high wall, and never engage with the rest of the world. And they are on the same side. They're on the same side. Friends, the war is actually going well. In fact, we have killed another prominent Iranian leader, the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, who is the replacement for the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, who we had previously killed. We have killed more leaders in Iran. You know, we killed the head of the Iranian Navy yesterday. And you know what the talking point is today? Well, that does not mean you can take the Strait of Hormuz. Killing one man doesn't mean you can take the Strait of Hormuz. Nobody said it did, by the way. Nobody said that it did. But we have killed one of the major leaders of Iran who replaced a major leader that we killed. And it's pretty good news. It's just the negative, the credentialism of the international elite. I want to just put this in larger perspective for you, please. Let's go back to Donald Trump's first term in office. One of the very first things Donald Trump did was he pulled us out of the Paris Climate Accord, and the international elite told us that would have a devastating effect not just on the environment, but the American economy, as other nations reacted negatively and lashed out at us, and it didn't happen. Then the President of the United States moved the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a long-held promise made by multiple American presidents that only Donald Trump did, and we were told there would be immediate war, and guess what happened? It didn't happen. We were told when the president killed Qasem Soleimani of Iran that would cause a regional war, and it did not. Fast forward into this term. We were told that taking out Maduro would not fundamentally change Venezuela, and it has. We were told it was impossible to destabilize Cuba, except he has. We have been told yet again that the President of the United States engaging in Iran would not be successful. And yet it's been so successful so far that the media and the Democrats have to lie about how successful it is. You know, we've spent so much money on Iran. We've spent a lot of money on Ukraine. Marco Rubio was asked about this. He, again, continues to be one of the most articulate spokesmen for this administration and its efforts. This is Marco Rubio on the tarmac about to get in a plane.
Mr. Secretary, are you going to ask G7 to help with the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, it's in their interest to help. The other countries get far more of their fuel from there than we do.
But what kind of help are you going to ask? Is it minesweepers, naval help?
Well, those specifics I'll leave it to the Department of War as to exactly what, but it's in their interest. It's in their national interest. Do
you think President Trump criticizing NATO this morning, that sentiment?
I think he just made an observation, and the observation is that the United States is constantly being asked to help in a war, and we have more than any other country in the world, on a war that's happening in another continent, in Ukraine. But when the U.S. had a need, he didn't get proper positive responses. So right now he's just making the observation that, I think there was a couple of the leaders in Europe who said that this was not Europe's war. Well, Ukraine is not America's war, and yet we've contributed more to that fight than any other country in the world. So it'll be something to examine. The president will have to take into account down the road.
He will. We're all going to have to look at this. We're all going to have to look at how the Europeans responded. But what I can tell you right now is that you are hearing from the media a lot of negativity about this. And what you have to understand is that the American press corps cannot stomach the idea of Donald Trump winning, nor can the isolationists stomach the idea of Donald Trump winning. If Donald Trump is able to pull this off, the international left will have to take a loss on all their statements about Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump not being able to do anything competent. If Donald Trump is able to pull this thing off, the isolationist right that believes the American military is incapable of doing anything, and so we should just come home and build a high wall and protect ourselves, they'll have to take the loss. He's been reforming and transforming the world from Venezuela to now Cuba and Iran. The Iranian government is so divided that nobody in Iran knows who else in Iran is talking or not talking to us. They keep dying. But the American media and the isolationists would have us believe that the more Iranians die, the more successful the Iranians are. I've never seen a war where the country whose sides are continuing to die and be obliterated is the side that's winning. But that's what the press spin is on this, that if the Iranians keep dying, it means the Iranians are winning. This reminds me of the Democrats when they kept losing back in, it was 2004, and then in 2010 and in 2014. Every time the Democrats, you saw a bloodbath in the elections for the Democrats down to the local level, it was a moral victory. It was never a real victory. It was a moral victory. And this is a moral victory for Iran. The international elite and the isolationists all want you to know Iran is winning. It's a moral victory for them. It may be a moral victory for Iran, but all the Iranians are dead. Now, let me jump back and get Stacy's phone call before I get out of here. Stacy, you back? Well, welcome to the show, Stacy.
Hey, Eric. Voters did an extraordinary thing in voting Republicans in the majorities of the House, the Senate, and the White House. So my question to you is it that Republicans can't or won't do the following things that it seems like a majority of Americans want? One is to cancel recess. They need to work through the Easter break and get these matters resolved. Get rid of the filibuster since midterms are looking bleak for Republicans and traditionally swing to the other party. Primary Murkowski, Collins, or any senator who votes with Democrats. Register voters in airports. When Democrats can assemble protesters at a moment's notice, why can't we take advantage of it and register voters? Or run ads like you've talked about that countermeasure what Democrats are putting out there. Is it that Republicans
let me deal with
can't
a couple
or won't?
of these. So the first one, so running ads, I think we got to do. Canceling recess, I think we should do. In fact, John Thune, I just saw a video of him leaving, going through the airport. On the other ones, though, some of the things that you're asking, you can't, like you're not allowed to register people at airports. The Democrats don't even register people at airports. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to do that. Democrats aren't allowed to. Republicans aren't allowed to. Progressive groups aren't allowed to. It doesn't happen at airports. Getting rid of the filibuster, I think, would be a terrible idea. If you're about to go in the minority, you might lose the Senate. Well, you certainly want to protect your minority rights. The Democrats and all of you, every one of you says, well, the Democrats are going to get rid of it. People have been saying the Democrats are going to get rid of the filibuster since 2006. They got rid of the judicial filibuster and saw what happened. And I am old enough to remember the last 3 times the Democrats had the Senate. Every single Republican activist said, you might as well get rid of the filibuster because they're going to get rid of it. And they never got rid of it. The filibuster protects us. You get rid of the filibuster, you are actively destroying this country. And I want you to understand that if you are on the side of getting rid of the filibuster, you are going to destroy the country. Getting rid of that final check of the Senate will be devastating. You may not get what you want out of the Senate because of it, but they don't either. And that's a good thing. But yes, cancel recess and run ads. I will tell you, I just got a note from Speaker Johnson's office that the House Republican plan is going to be to move a clean 60-day continuing resolution. They're not going to defund CPB. They're not going to defund ICE. They will never support opening the border. They're not going to support the judicial warrant. So spend 60 days on a clean CR and see where we are after that. And if the Democrats will bite on that, that's the current plan for the House Republicans. They've rejected the Senate plan, and that is their offer, essentially preserving the status quo ante. What existed before the shutdown, they'll keep it going and see whether the Democrats bite. Hello there. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. This hour of the program brought to you by Van Allen Golf. I can't wait to play me some golf this afternoon. I love late evening golf. I like to be the last person on the golf course. The sun is going down. Still enough time to get in 8 holes. Nobody behind me. No rush. I love it. And I play with my Van Allen golf putter. You can too. VanAllenGolf.com, ALLEN, VanAllenGolf.com, or text golf to 33777. You should subscribe to the Golfer's Journal too. If you text golf to 33777, I'll get you the link, my referral link to the Golfer's Journal. Now, we got to move on to other stuff. It is an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. Be patient with me, however. We got a short segment here. I do want to bring you back up to speed. Speaker Johnson's office just texted me a little while ago and said that the House is going to submit a plan to a clean 60-day continuing resolution. That is, essentially fund the government the way it has been funded for 60 days, and they can squabble over TSA, CPB, and ICE if they want. The president, however, is saying that he is going to fund ICE or fund TSA agents. Now, note the framing of this, and the framing is a key thing here. President Trump, this is from Semaphore, is bypassing Congress, paying TSA workers as the partial shutdown goes on. He announced his move comes with big legal and political questions. Trump's decision comes 41 days into the shutdown, and after several Democratic attempts to pay TSA workers amidst a larger disagreement over immigration. As the shutdown progressed, airports constantly struggled. The president's announced he's doing it. It's unclear under what legal authority Trump will pay workers, but the news will be a relief to the workers. However, they want to know why he hadn't done it before. Why didn't Trump go on and do this? So they're now attacking the president. They say it's legally dubious that he can do this. But if he can do it, why didn't he do it before? There's no winning with these people. They've got to hate Donald Trump no matter what. They can't credit him for anything. Donald Trump, for you TSA agents, has decided it's time to declare an emergency and get you back on pay. It takes time to do the legal work to declare an emergency. There are certain things that have to go into place to be able to do it, and he's now done it. And God bless him for doing it. Hopefully you'll be able to get paid this coming week. I feel so bad for you guys, yet again being held hostage by the government over something as stupid as they want to not deport illegal aliens. Ladies and gentlemen, I do love my Rinnai tankless water heater. I tell you about it all the time. I want you to know a friend of mine got a tankless water heater from Rinnai, and he sadly missed the Braves opening game because might have had a few drinks, decided to take a shower, got real relaxed in his shower. By the time his wife came in to yell at him for being in the shower as long as he was, the game was over. Literally missed an entire baseball game because he was hanging out in his shower, and he just thought, I'm so used to the water getting cold. Not with a tankless water heater. It's not going to happen. Y'all, that is a very true story. I'm not making that up. Dude must have taken like a 2-3 hour shower. So he was totally relaxed, just hanging out, had a shower beer, relaxing in his shower, never ran out of hot water. You can have the same relaxing experience thanks to Rinnai. Go to TalkingTankless.com. TalkingTankless.com. You just go to TalkingTankless.com, click the button, talk to a Rinnai professional, yank your tank, get a tankless water heater, never run out of hot water again. Take a shower as long as you want and always have hot water.